Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. Me, Chris and Pat back in the pub to answer your questions. The first one was sent in by Pally Mark. He says, do you think moving for Ronaldo is the best move for Juve, and how long will he last in Turin? What is happening with Ronaldo and Juventus?
Oh, well, this could have changed by the time we get to Sunday, right? This situation might have developed.
We'll shoot this on Thursday.
It might have petered out, but it's definitely the most interesting topic of the week, so we're going to have to talk about it. Now, apparently Juventus have approached Real Madrid. That's on record. Even Ralf Honigstein has said there's a definite approach there. They've kind of mulled over a bid in the region of £88 million, I believe, which is obviously more than he was signed for from Real Madrid way back in 2009.
Incredible.
So to turn a profit on someone who's turning 34 this year, obviously without inflation and kind of considering post-Neymar, is incredible. But, you know, 450 goals later, he's probably still worth that money, isn't he? Arguably so. But I think it's... Now, Ronaldo did come out after the Champions League, didn't he, and say that he wasn't necessarily sure where his future lied. And normally this is quite ritual, it's quite habitual, this, isn't it? He says it at the end of the season, Real Madrid massage his ego, give him a little bump in pay, extend his contract, which was the case the season before. I think he got a contract until 2021, didn't he? But this time round, Real Madrid have lowered his release clause. Some of the wording post-interest from Juventus has been interesting in that I think Florentino Perez, or a representative of Real Madrid, said this is the first bid or the first inquiry we've had for Ronaldo, acting like they're expecting even more, which has only fueled the sort of paper talk. So it does have a different feel to it, this.
Yeah.
Worries me.
But he does turn 34 at the end of the year. Apparently his contract would be 500k a week, which is more than he's currently on. Do Juventus have that sort of money is one question. And the other, probably more interesting topic is, in a post-Cristiano Ronaldo world at Real Madrid, who do they move for? Neymar or Mbappe?
I can't...
So what are your thoughts on this? I'll dive back in.
I can't believe... I think this is such a risk for Madrid. I cannot believe that Lopetegui comes through the door in a non-Cristiano Ronaldo Real Madrid side. If you're Lopetegui, you do everything in your power to keep Ronaldo at the club, surely. Like, you do everything in your power to have the best possible unit you can have at your disposal. And that does include Cristiano Ronaldo, if you're a Real Madrid fan or player or manager. I can't believe they're going to let him go, for one, especially at 88 million.
Playing devil's advocate here, just to continue your point. Is this a great opportunity for him to get rid of the biggest ego at the club before he comes in?
This is what I would say.
Maybe, but if he comes in...
If they say you can spend that money, Ronaldo's out the door. Ronaldo's great, but he does pose some problems, right?
For
you have
sure.
to find a way
but
to make
he also
him work.
poses massive solutions to problems. I mean, if you're a Real Madrid fan, Lopetegui comes through the door, Real Madrid let Ronaldo leave, and let's say they replace him with a player of high caliber, but you don't win a Champions League, you don't win a La Liga title, you don't win a competition. He's gone. Lopetegui's gone at the end of the season. There's no way Perez affords him more than a season if he's agreed to sell Cristiano Ronaldo.
That is a good point. Real Madrid managers kind of have to be short-term, don't they? And getting rid of Ronaldo, he signed a 3-year contract, Lopetegui, but you don't...
Mad. Can't believe it.
I
mean,
don't trust a dynasty building process with. He feels like a bit of a quick fix. I don't know what you think.
I mean, you can also look at it from the point of view of it's going to be impossible for him to better what Zidane's done during his time there, right? So the best thing to do there, therefore, is just treat it as if you're not going to get sacked and just try and create the best unit you can for the future. You know, there's no point making short-term decisions to try and keep your job for next year if then next year you're going to have the same problem and the same problem the year after that. At some point, you're going to have to turn over this squad, and this might be your last chance to lose Ronaldo and get some money and get in a comparable player. What if you keep Ronaldo and you keep your job? In 2 years' time, you're going to have to try and make it work with a 35-year-old Ronaldo. I actually would rather take my chances building a new team.
I just want to say though, here, is that I'm still sceptical. I'm still...
Oh yeah, of course.
I've seen so many seasons gone by recently where Manchester United have been linked to Cristiano Ronaldo and he has signed a new contract at the club. It happens every single summer, and it just feels like, yet again, Real Madrid have, he might be joining Juventus, Ronaldo's used in the press, using the Italian media, he knows he's with Manchester United in terms of using them. So now he's just using Juventus, and then suddenly, oh, it's a €35 million contract on the table for Madrid. Bang, signs it.
Yeah, well, I think we will all like believe it when we see it, but it would be exciting if it happened, because at some point they're going to have to live in a post-Cristiano Ronaldo era. They might as well do that on their own terms, rather than, you know, when eventually he breaks a leg, or, you know, age just starts to take him and he can't play more than 20 games a season. It would be better to do it now when they can get some money, and when there is a player like Kylian Mbappe on the table. 19-year-old Kylian Mbappe, who's already one of the best 5 forwards in the world. If he never improves...
How much does he cost to get out of PSG?
If he's 19 years old, to a certain extent, you don't really care. I mean, PSG are going to turn 80 million profit.
Figures of 230 to 250 floated, and PSG are kind of in a process of balancing the books, right? And maybe they would have to decide on Neymar or Mbappe, which would, you know, then cause chaos elsewhere. But like you said, Ronaldo, 25 goals in 26 La Liga starts last campaign. So still heavily reliant on him. They would have to sign someone of that 30-goal calibre. I don't think it'd be a process of, you know, bringing anyone on or entrusting Asensio a bit more. But does this also render Karim Benzema a little bit obsolete as well? Because Zidane kept him in the Real Madrid side, right, to help Ronaldo. He dovetailed well with him. He did Ronaldo's running. He only got 5 goals last season. I think maybe double digits for assists. But does getting rid of Ronaldo mean you also have to double down on their attacking options, or does Lopetegui entrust Gareth Bale and get rid of Ronaldo? I think it's not just a case of swapping out Ronaldo for Mbappe or Neymar for me. It's rebuilding that whole forward line.
Well, I think
they do need to do that.
If you were Madrid, if I was Madrid anyway, and Juventus approached me with £88 million, the first words out of my mouth would be, okay, fine, we're willing to negotiate, but we want Paulo Dybala.
Interesting.
100%. There is no way...
Like Dickinson's real deal.
Yeah, there's no way that Florentino Perez has looked at this situation and said, Juventus want our man, and we're kind of willing to sell potentially. He's reaching the end of his career, like we've already talked about. And the next world superstar looks to potentially be Paulo Dybala alongside Neymar and Mbappe, and he might be more available, especially if Juventus are willing to deal. If I was Real Madrid, I might even lower the price and say that's fine, but then I want a cheaper deal on Paulo Dybala when we get him 6 months' time. I want Paulo Dybala for €120 million, but I'll give you Ronaldo for 88.
I think that would be quite sensible. But I don't
Surely
know,
they would do that. Though. Why would they not do that?
Sort of less of a pressing issue for a number 10, in my opinion, because they've got Isco and more so for out-and-out striking options. Then what would that mean for Higuain at Real Madrid? Because they've got 2 forwards over the age of 30 who they've spent a combined 170 million on. Surely Higuain would leave and maybe go to Chelsea. He's been linked with Chelsea, hasn't he? Pretty incessantly. So
he doesn't play in that team, does he? Higuain if Ronaldo's.
That would be amazing for Juve. If Juve could finance Ronaldo by selling Higuain, that would be unbelievable business. Because Higuain, while being younger than Ronaldo, he's declining at a much faster rate, and you'd expect to at least get a couple more seasons of really good production out of Cristiano Ronaldo.
I mean, you're really into your expected goals, aren't you? I look at Ronaldo's, and he's been performing. He performed better this season than the season before, so he's kind of sustained his numbers, and that's the incredible thing, right? Whereas Higuain's dropped massively.
Ronaldo had the best second half of the season of his entire career.
The only players in Europe who have more expected goals in league play this season than Ronaldo were Messi and Lewandowski. You know, and I think that if you don't require mobility from Ronaldo, then he can do what he does, like around the penalty area for several years. I mean, and if you look at Juve's attack, it has declined over the last few years. You know, 3 years ago, they had the 3rd best attack in Italy, according to expected goals. The year before last, they were the 4th. Last year, they were the 6th.
Primo stats.
So they are seeing like a certain deterioration. And the one thing Cristiano Ronaldo does is find himself getting shots in amazing positions consistently.
6.6 shots a game last season. I mean, it's not declined at all, has it?
It's by far the best mark in Europe. The only guy who's really getting close to him is Harry Kane, actually.
I watched a game against Girona where he had 10 shots.
Well, if you're Madrid, just talking about, let's go back to that point about replacements and who they're replacing with. In the hypothetical world currently that Ronaldo leaves, they must be a little bit peeved that this has happened in a post-Harry Kane contract world. Because Harry Kane's obviously just signed his brand new contract, £200,000 a week at Tottenham Hotspur. And I don't see Daniel Levy selling for anything less, especially if he wins the Golden Boot, which is looking increasingly certain.
The thing about Kane, though, is that Kane's an amazing player, but he's not one of those guys who's going to create goals for himself out of nothing. He does need good creators behind him.
But he would have that at Madrid. He would have unbelievable creators behind him.
Sure, but if you could go and get, for a similar price, or for not that much more, somebody like Mbappe or Dybala who can also create the chances for themselves. I think that's kind of the player Real Madrid like a really just like solid centre forward. As a general rule, those players tend to be kind of undervalued at Real Madrid. Benzema, Higuain, even Van Nistelrooy. Those were guys who were like, they were never kind of the star guy. It was all about.
So who would you get?
Well, if I could get Mbappe, I'd get Mbappe. If I could get Dybala, I'd get Dybala. If I could choose any player, I'd choose Mbappe.
So would you pick Mbappe over Neymar?
Yeah,
really?
I think I would. Just because of the amount that you're paying.
Neymar.
He's 19 years old. He's going to last you forever, and like I said, like if he maintains his level of performance for the next 10 years, he's one of the best forwards in the world now. If he gets any better, I genuinely cannot conceive of how good he could be.
Yeah, I would take Neymar. I would take
because you want to win now.
I would take Neymar. I would have Neymar because of a number of different reasons, especially if I was Real Madrid. Number one, I think right now, in the immediate, like you just said, Neymar is the better footballer. I think he's more commercially viable than Mbappe, and that will 100, as much as we don't want it to, that 100% comes into the thinking of a club when they sign a player. In particular, a really, really high caliber player.
Well, if Ronaldo leaves, maybe,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the sort of that's the most high profile asset they've got at the club, Ronaldo, and to replace him with somebody who could potentially reach that level or commercially fill that space, I think is key. And as good as Mbappe is on the pitch, I think we can all agree he's quite a quiet, insulated guy off the pitch. He's not Neymar, is he? He's everywhere. Like he's got that South American flair, which is fine.
Grounded,
which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. But Neymar is definitely the more valuable asset off the pitch, and that will 100% come into their thinking. I don't want it to, but I would go for Neymar if I was Real Madrid.
I mean, there's that artifice about Real Madrid, isn't there? Whereas I think if Barcelona had to pick between Mbappe and Neymar again, I mean, obviously, let's take out the fact he was there beforehand, they'd probably go for Mbappe.
And they also have that South America, that brings the South American fan support. It's quite complicated. But
I think I would also go. Oh no! Potentially for Mbappe, if you're going to pay a similar amount for them, I actually think you'd have to pay more for Neymar, surely.
Definitely.
It's hard though, isn't it? I do think Neymar is the more Real Madrid sort of signing, not for any better reasons other than he feels like he belongs at a bigger club, doesn't it? But it's odd that this kind of Juventus signing Ronaldo would re-establish them as a sort of dominant force in football or a major player in the transfer market again after quite a quiet 10 to 15 years.
But they did it with Higuain, didn't they? It feels a bit Higuain-ish.
To an extent, but nobody else was really competing for him. Like they went and took him from Napoli, who at that point were not where they are now. That is different from if you're getting a player who any club in Europe would take.
But before that move, nobody was expecting Juve to go and spend 85 million, 90 million euros on Higuain.
No, but in that same summer, they did that partially because they lost Pogba, right? And they had to show they weren't finished in the transfer market. If you go and get Ronaldo, who genuinely any club would take him, that kind of says, like, look, we're going to try and win the Champions League. Because it is, as good as Ronaldo is, and while he will probably age pretty well, he already is doing, it is a short-term move.
Which is why I'm surprised Jose's not in.
I mean, he told AS recently he wants to play until the age of 41, and I think he would be able to play longer in Serie A. Juventus have some of the best, sports science facilities, don't they?
Yeah.
Going, and they've elongated many top professionals' careers. So I could see him playing at a top level until the age of 38 in Serie A. Maybe less so
I could as well.
in La Liga. And if Ronaldo, do you think that's going to be part of? I mean, hard to tap into his psyche, but do you think that's going to be? He's going to warm to the idea of going to Juventus because one, he will be the top dog there still, and two, his output will probably be easier to sustain. The element of vanity creep into it. This is obviously a little bit more abstract.
I think Cristiano Ronaldo, he's just interested in status, effectively. And if he can go to Juventus and continue to win trophies, which he would do at Juventus, and continue to win league titles, probably continue to win cups, he continued to be in with a shout at the Ballon d'Or, and also earn an extra €5 million per year for the next 4 years, it's an absolute win-win for Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, because at the moment he doesn't really win. He hasn't really won a lot of titles. He's only won 2 titles with Real Madrid.
Exactly.
And to a certain extent, he could look at it and say, that's not going to change unless I play more games of the league season, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to save himself for big matches in the Champions League.
And he's won
so
enough Champions
arguably
Leagues
this
now.
way he could play half the games in the league, still win the league, and still save himself for the Champions League. I mean, if he delivers a Champions League to Juventus for the first time since, what is it, like 96, 97?
Yeah.
Then, not 97, then I think, that would almost mean more than winning, what would it be, a 5th at Real Madrid?
Yeah, he's won 4 there, I believe. Or has he won 4 including...
No, he's won 5. He's won 4. He's won 4 in 5 in 5 years at Real Madrid, plus 1 at United.
That's ridiculous.
I think Juventus are going to do a madness this season, regardless of.
I'm pumped for this.
Yeah, regardless if it's Ronaldo or someone else, because I mean, losing Buffon, like you said, Higuain needs replacing. They've got money to spend.
I think I struggle to see a world in which they keep Higuain, Dybala, and Ronaldo in that forward.
I believe this segue is quite nice into our next question, though, doesn't it? About who's doing the best transfer business this season. So maybe we should do a poll. Who would you go for, Mbappe or Neymar, to replace Ronaldo should he leave?
Yeah, up there now. Vote.
And then let's mosey on over to the next question.
What was the next question?
Enjoy that.
Do you know it? The next question was sent in by a Sunday Vibes regular. Chris mentioned it then. It's which club has pulled off the savviest piece of business this transfer window so far? Sent in by Huskelder or Gustson. I think I change that pronunciation every week. Who's going for what then in this? Savviest. So the best, kind of, but for a decent value.
Few options, isn't it? I like some of the business that's being conducted on the continent, Inter Milan in particular, getting Stefan de Vrij on a free from Lazio, directly weakening one of their Champions League rivals and just snapping up one of the best centre-backs in Europe for free is outstanding business, especially when him giving away a penalty secured his new club Champions League football. In the process, that made it all the more sweeter, didn't it? They've also signed Nainggolan. I think they've overpaid for Nainggolan a little bit, but
how much did they pay? 22?
In the region of 35 to 40, I think.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
But 30-year-old, that's initial. It could rise to 44, I think.
Spalletti trusts him. They were struggling for creators.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, they have creators in Kandreva and Perisic, but those guys that struggled, I think, from December onwards. I don't think Kandreva contributed to I don't think he had an assist.
And they might sell him
from December onwards.
He's old.
No, decent.
What
was he?
apparently won it.
31, 32? Yeah, sure.
Of course they do.
Who else have they signed?
Lautaro Martinez as well. Very good young player.
I don't know much about him.
Well, he's 20. Last season, I think he got 20 goals in 28 games. So, taking gambles, cheapish gambles, I think they paid 20 million euros, which is quite a bit. But taking cheap gambles on young strikers from the Argentine league is not necessarily a bad business model, Especially if you're into where you've got your nailed on first choice striker. If he turns out
had success in that area as well with Bentancur, obviously.
But also
he's a central midfielder, but he came from Boca Juniors.
Not necessarily Argentinian, but they took a big punt on Gabigol, didn't they? Gabriel Barbosa, and that's fallen apart quite
but that's still an asset. They'll be able to sell him on somewhere else because he's still very young.
He's actually picked up in Brazil. He's having a good time.
He loves it in Brazil.
Back on loan. Asamoah. I think getting Asamoah and the Vrij offsets overpaying for Nainggolan, so they're fine on that front. But Premier League new boys, Joe, that's who you're going for, right?
Potentially. I want to just do a quick shout out to Liverpool because I think Fabinho for 35 million is a fantastic bit of business.
What they needed.
And Naby Keita as well. So that's probably arguably the savviest business across Europe to get Naby Keita and Fabinho for a combined, 80 million. That's really good business. But yeah, potentially Wolves. Now Wolves are obviously backed heavily by Jorge Mendes, and he conducts nearly all of their transfer dealings, even with clients that aren't his. He acts as a middleman with a number of parties. The reason that I put Wolves forward is the signing of Ruben Neves to a new 5-year contract with no buyout clause is absolutely exceptional work by, I don't care whether it's Jorge Mendes or the board. whoever they eventually sell him to is going to get a fantastic player, and Wolves are going to get an incredible amount of money for. He's still only 21 years old, Ruben Neves.
Jesus.
It's outrageous.
Been around forever.
They've also bought in Rui Patricio, haven't they, on a free? Portugal's
that
number
is
one.
great.
An incredible bit of business for a newly promoted Premier League side.
John Ruddy must be livid.
Yeah, they've also signed Jota down to a permanent deal. They've bought Ballon in. They bought Benicophobe in for like literally a week and then sold him on for a £4 million profit. It's smart business by Wolves. And I'm super excited to watch Wolves next season under Espirito Santo. So I think they're going to be brilliant. And mainly to get Ruben Neves on a 5-year deal with barely any wage rise. I think it's a 25k wage rise, which sounds a lot, but for Wolves at the moment isn't that much.
It's going to be really interesting the Premier League next season, isn't it? With none of the newly promoted sides having gone down, the season just gone, and Wolves being so strong.
Yeah.
Something's got to give. We might see another big kind of team at the foot of the Premier League.
It's very, very exciting.
Bow out.
Wolves.
What
And
about
Liverpool,
you, mate?
obviously, Liverpool.
I think
Atletico in with
Well,
the
I like Atletico Madrid. I mean, I think they overpaid for Lemar. They paid 70 million euros, something like that. That's a lot of money. I don't think he's really worth that. But I think he will be really good for them. Like, he's exactly that guy you want, who can come in off the flank. He's a great dribbler, good defensive output, good creator.
How can he overpay if he's going to be really good for them?
Because he might not be good enough to justify that amount, or because he's not worth that amount. Like, players do have a value. So it doesn't matter if somebody's good if they're not good to the level of like. So if I pay 100 million euros for like Edinson Cavani, he's going to be good for my club, but he's not worth 100 million euros.
It's hard to put monetary values in it now on.
It is, but
on players' contribution. But no, what I meant to say really was, do you still have your reservations about Lemar? That's kind of where
Yes.
I was going with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I still think that. I don't think that he's like a world-class player. I'm not sure that he ever will be. What he will be is a very solid contributor on a team who will be challenging at the top of La Liga. He's certainly more reliable than players like Gaetan and Yannick Carrasco, though Yannick Carrasco was very good when he got on the field. And his skill set fits Atleti really well. I really like Rodri. Obviously, they nailed that in January, and he's only joining this summer, but he's one of the best young central midfielders in Europe. Huge defensive output, great passer as well. Perfect guy to replace Gabi long term. Maybe allow Koke to have a little bit more freedom. And
Griezmann new contract.
Griezmann new contract. I mean, plus a new contract for Lucas Hernandez. You know, like these are great moves. Yeah, overall, Atleti generally quietly do really, really solid business. I'd also like to point out Arsenal's move for Lucas Torreira. That's a really good transfer. He had a 25 million euro buyout clause, but the thing is with his buyout clause, if you were to pay it, you have to pay the full lump sum within 60 days of doing the deal. And so instead of that, Arsenal are paying 30 million euros so that they can pay it over 3 years. But overall, 30 million euros, again, for a guy who's 22, huge defensive output last season, really good passer again, mobile in their midfield, which is something they've definitely been lacking with Granit Xhaka in there.
And brilliant against France. It really had
good
a tenacity and bite to that Uruguayan midfield, didn't he? And what is he, 5'5"?
Yeah, he's
still
5'5".
won 3 aerial duels against
Yeah.
Paul Pogba.
No, he
there
hasn't
anything-
played France yet. He hasn't played France
Is
yet.
there anything they
That's
can't
Portugal,
do?
against
Sorry,
Portugal.
I meant Portugal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slip of the tongue from me. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, and we really wanted to see him in that Uruguay setup.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
Because we thought that central midfield lacked a bit of mobility, and he's got a bit of everything, hasn't he? And it actually takes free kicks on occasion as well at club level at the moment. And
Really?
He's got quite a thwack on him.
I'm
yeah.
excited, man. What about, obviously, you're a kind of semi-Leicester fan. What about the Mahrez move? And also, Harry Maguire, potentially. Is he going to keep on?
Ooh. Well, I think starting with Riyad Mahrez, it's kind of concluded how we sort of predicted on Continental Club back in January, was it? That Man City will probably come in for the same amount of money, and Leicester will have more time to let him go, so they'll be more receptive. More time to replace him, so they'll be more receptive to a bid. Now, I think it was 70 in January, and it's 60 now,
So a little bit less.
which is fair because Manchester City are still overpaying for him to be essentially a bench player.
60 million is a lot.
He's going to
for
be on
Mahrez.
rotation at very best, isn't he? But I mean, in terms of his output, I think he'll almost be good value at that. It's just paying 60 million for someone who's very obviously going to sit on the bench is a little bit. The mind boggles a little
What
bit.
does that mean for Bernardo Silva as well? If I was Bernardo Silva and I saw Mahrez come through the door,
They're actually very similar. They're actually very similar players in a
very
lot of ways,
good
but Mahrez has, I'd say, much better output.
if I was him, I'd be thinking, where do I fit into this team with Sterling, Sane, Mahrez, myself, and then that's just the wide talent.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Bernardo Silva, you see some sort of, maybe he thinks he can play in that David Silva role as opposed to just being a wide player, because he's often been deployed on the right for Manchester City, hasn't he, right for Portugal, and maybe he thinks he's got a bit more versatility than Riyad Mahrez, who does like to kind of hog that side, although has played number 10 to decent effect in the Champions League before. I think Mahrez essentially deserves a move to a top club, and it's kind of last chance saloon to go to a calibre, a side of that calibre. It's once in a generation sort of team, once in a generation sort of manager. So yeah, good luck to him, fair play. Harry Maguire though, mate. I think Leicester have tied him down to a long-term contract. I think he'd demand a fairly sizable fee, but if his form continues, he was Leicester's player of the season last season, if he has another one of those seasons and impresses, if England go even deeper into the World Cup, then I don't know why a top club wouldn't want him. I know you're kind of still unconvinced about elements of his passing, but he's really impressed me with his bravery, his ability to step out, his actual turn of pace for someone who's built like a Yeti and has a microwave as a head is very impressive.
He steps out of the line really comfortably. Like for England in particular, I haven't watched much Leicester last season, but I've been so surprised by how he steps out of the line and carries the ball.
But he's always been like that. I mean, last season I remember seeing him trying to skim people in the opposition half, which is kind of fun, but that's one of my reservations about him. But
bit of decision making,
yeah, but I mean, it depends what his manager's saying to him. Like, if his manager wants to give him the freedom to do that, then it's easier with England, isn't it, where they're playing three at the back, and he does have the freedom to do that. So I mind it a little bit less for England.
I think it wouldn't be the worst option for Tottenham Hotspur to have a go at him if they're going to lose out of it.
Yeah, the only issue is that I think it's good for Maguire, because Maguire is at the perfect club to show himself off to the big sides. I think Leicester are going to be clearly, unless they do something silly and get rid of Puel, I think that Leicester are clearly going to be the next best team after the top six next season. However, I guess my issue is that if I were a top side, I would never be buying centre-backs from clubs like Leicester, because they can just ask for so much money. I'd be buying cheap, younger centre-backs and taking risks, because centre-backs are so difficult to assess. Harry Maguire can go on to have actually a fantastic career at Leicester. He doesn't even need to move necessarily.
Leicester's owner is very cash-rich at the King Power. Like Pat said, no great pressure to sell. Look at the stance they've taken on Riyad Mahrez. I think you'd have to be paying like 40 to 50 to get Harry Maguire out of the club.
That's a lot,
I don't know. I actually could see him. I could see him at United. I don't know what. It just took a couple of years down the line.
Potentially, I think United might have had their hands burnt a little bit with Phil Jones and Chris Smalling over the last few years. So I don't know how keen they're going to be to invest in a young English centre back that's got.
I think our ability to judge centre backs has got better.
I'd say Jones and Smalling never had the same skill set as Harry Maguire, right?
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
more strings to his bow, for sure.
Jones was very, very good at Blackburn. He was unbelievably talented, and I think when we took the risk with Jones, he did show signs of he can carry the ball out from the back. He can potentially play in defensive midfield. He can play at right back. He was unbelievably
defensive midfield. Yeah, that's why you need to leave Maguire, to play out another 1 to 2 seasons, right?
Make more sense to Liverpool to me, because the passing burden wouldn't be on him as much with Van Dijk there, and clearly in favouring Lovren over Matip, despite Matip probably being a slightly more talented player. Really what Klopp likes is an aerially dominant centre back who is reasonably mobile, and Maguire is definitely those things.
Yes.
So that would be quite an interesting move to me.
So there we go. Who do you think has been the savviest bit of business so far this summer, I guess? Let us know in the comments below and on Twitter and yeah, send it. The next section is, of course, Quickfire Questions. The first one was sent by Sam Cullum7. He says, if you could only choose one player in history to sub on and win you a game, who would it be and why?
Quickly before, you give me your best gun noise for Quickfire Questions.
Gun.
Oh, was that it?
Gun.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
I mean, that was mental. Go on then, what's yours?
Do yours?
No.
Pow!
The noise I make is gun.
You had it. Oh, machine gun.
Yours is actually good.
It's not bad.
Yours sounds like one of those.
No, it sounds like backing music from Platoon.
One player to sub on and win you the game. Oh no, I'm probably the best player ever. What?
Can I not just pick Messi?
I don't know. You need to be picking a substitute here. Who spent a lot of time on the bench.
Oh, so like Ole Gunnar or someone?
Yeah.
I mean, Ole Gunnar was pretty good off the bench. Like,
Let's go with Ole Gunnar.
As super subs go, he and Sylvain Wiltord, he was very good off the bench as well. Trezeguet came off the bench, didn't need to win the Euro 2000.
I was going to say David Trezeguet. Potentially Chicharito.
It makes it a much less interesting question when they have to have been a bench player.
I mean, if not, then I'll take Ronaldo.
If it's just a big stage player, then the guy you want is probably someone like Ronaldo or Drogba.
Yes, Didier.
Drogba coming on against tired defenders last 20 minutes.
I'd bring him on now,
I would walk off.
Killing it for the Arizona
and
Phoenix.
And that haircut is just fantastic.
Not a single hair.
Doing a good job as a pundit, actually.
The next one came from
Machine.
Minehell_QF, who says, which team was the best to be eliminated at the group stage of the world?
That's a good question.
Well, there's a difference there, isn't there, between actually the best team and the most talented? Because I'd say the best team were probably Senegal.
Yeah, I was going to say Senegal.
But they're not as talented as Germany.
At the group stage?
At the group stage.
See, I think a lot of people that went out at the group stage thoroughly deserved to go up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Germans have the best group of players, but I agree with Patrick. Senegal were the best side to go out.
They're the ones who are unlucky to go out. It was a very tough group. And even Iran actually were quite unlucky to go out, I'd say.
I think round of 16 for me then, just to continue it, Japan.
Yeah, Japan was such a fun team this year.
Really fun team, always fun to watch, love them.
The next one, Jake Quasi, 17, he says, hypothetically, never a good start to a question, would Kane be the spearhead of England winning the World Cup, brackets, if we did, be enough to earn him the Ballon d'Or?
Probably not.
Yeah, no.
I think he will win the Golden Boot. Yeah. I'm not sure how coincide with England winning the World Cup. It would maybe put in top 3.
I think he would put in top 3 as well. But I think still Ronaldo would win it.
Yeah, I don't think he'll win it.
A 4th Champions League, 3 in a row.
I don't think the people don't give a anymore, man.
Well, there's the Ballon d'Or and there's the best, right? And the best is decided 10 days after the World Cup. So maybe that fanfare will work to Harry Kane's advantage, and it's decided by, I think they do a top 10 now, and the Ballon d'Or still do a top 27. So maybe you could win the best. Don't know. There you go. Good. No one gives a about.
Next question, Gregory Horn. Which club in the top 5 leagues is going to have the most disappointing season coming up?
Oh, I've just written a script about this.
Go on, who are you going for?
Teams that could
smash it out of the pot.
Well, I've gone through reasons why a lot of the big clubs could flop this season. You know, there's a lot of managerial turnover, a lot of squad rebuilds on the horizon. I don't know.
Dortmund for me.
Barcelona had a really bad end to the season, man. But I do think that Ousmane Dembele is going to play more next year. He's going to be great. Coutinho is going to be great. Like, they'll just be solid, won't they? I mean, Dortmund will probably have quite a dull campaign because Lucien Favre is quite a dull coach.
Yeah.
And they just don't have that top-end firepower that they had in the days of Aubameyang. They still don't have a central striker coming in and taking over. So I have no idea who that's going to be.
I mean, if Manchester United don't get their act together, then they could quickly finish 5th or 6th. Expected goals, David De Gea is saving 40 more goals than any human has the right to. Yeah. And I think Romelu Lukaku is saving you up front. Big time.
Romulu's going to have a massive season.
Reliant on him
as well, actually.
Yeah, Martial's kind of first half of the season. Yeah.
Fred's like a risk as well.
Surely Alexis won't be as bad as he was over the back.
Especially not having such a rest on the start. I think this is his first rest in 5 years?
That's a very good point,
4
actually.
years. So I'm excited to see Sanchez actually fresh coming into the
Quality
season.
if he came back and he was just a little porker.
I mean, I've seen
he will go that way.
I've seen him on Instagram, and he's just on a beach every day, just sprinting.
Who's going to be rounder by the time they're 50? Alexis Sanchez or Xherdan Shaqiri?
Or Quintero, because quite frankly, Quintero's a joke.
100%.
Absolutely rotund.
Having a good World Cup, mate.
Fantastically rotund.
Well, okay, Higuain though, who everyone always gives for. Higuain looks like he's really slimmed down.
He looks a bit gaunt.
Yeah, I feel like
he might be a bit ill or something.
I feel like he's doing the LeBron thing, right, I need to lose weight to maintain my mobility. And when I saw him running down the wing against France, I was like, you know what, this is the best shape he's been in for a long time.
You can definitely tell it's harder for Higuain to lose weight as well. Quintero, I mean, playing
because he lives in Italy
for Boca Juniors. Yeah. Playing for Boca Juniors,
eats what he wants, drinks what he wants.
Might not, might not facilitate the greatest bodies. And if he He's still owned by Porto, right?
Nah,
if he wants to make it in a top 5 league, is what I'm saying, then he would have to shape.
He's
up.
got a natural Luke Shaw body though. You know, one of those lads that's just naturally chunky. He's got a natural
Shaqiri's going to be massive.
Yeah, he's got a natural chunk. Yeah,
Shaqiri's so wide.
That's a good question.
It's unbelievable. He'll be one of those guys who's got a really big beer belly, but he's still absolutely fucking jacked.
Yeah. Who's going to be the fattest footballer?
The fattest footballer.
Wayne Rooney's going to be a big one.
Wazza will be a big boy. Yeah, Wazza will be a big. Luke Shaw will be.
Surely it's always going to be one of the tall guys because the tall guys kind of like they're naturally thin, and then after a while, you know, like Wes Morgan.
Luke will still be like a bouncer when he's 50.
Yeah, but he'll be fat.
Wayne Rooney will be large. Will be.
Charlie Adams massive now, and he's playing.
Oh yeah, well, leaving Scottish players aside,
yeah,
though, like
yeah.
I mean,
that poor
DNA. That's a rite of passage for a Scottish
Harry
player.
Maguire could be quite chunky.
You know, the average life expectancy in Scotland is worse than it is in the Gaza Strip.
Quality.
That's what happens when you batter Mars bars.
Yeah.
I've never had a batter Mars bar, but it sounds.
I'll bring you on down.
All right, let's go to the final question. Then it was sent in by John. Just John. Apparently, got no other information there. He says, "What's your favourite World Cup kit of all time?" Oh my God.
Christ. I feel like we've done this question to death, yet I don't have an answer immediately.
We've done the best World Cup kit.
You're always going to pick one from like the first World Cup you remember.
Yeah,
so
I remember 2002, England, red strip down the side.
98 World Cup. France's was great, but actually Mexico, that tournament had the one that had the Aztec calendar on it. Do you remember that?
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, that was sick.
What was the original R9 Brazil shirt?
It was the
was
one
that
that
98 or 2002?
I think you're probably thinking of
Circular
2002, but there's the one as well that has that green line across the back.
The first World Cup I can remember, like, properly 2002, is very total 90 era, wasn't
it?
2002, 2006. Was there any great kits at 2010?
Can't even
2014?
I always like New Zealand kits.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Japan's kits as well. I keep going out of Japan. I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
It's just getting silly.
So there we are, personal questions, done and dusted. Next section, I signed that off as personal questions, it wasn't, that was quickfire questions. This is personal questions. This one was sent in by Andy512. Who is your biggest celebrity crush?
Hardy.
Oh my good God.
Oh, we're going blokes?
Well named. No, I mean...
Man and a woman, we'll go.
Salma Hayek, bang.
Salma Hayek.
Easy.
Male?
I probably go Hardy, but I enjoy Chris Hemsworth as well.
It's so hard, man.
Chris Hemsworth is a piece.
Like Jake Gyllenhaal in certain films, like Prisoners.
Prince of Persia.
In Nightcrawler, he's disgusting.
Prince of Persia.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling's very capable of going from from disgusting to handsome as well in a very short space of time.
Or Oscar Isaac, mate. He is
a little piece, isn't it?
He's got a lovely singing voice. Serenade me, Oscar.
How do we approach females without sounding too pervy?
I'm into
Ashley Graham at the moment.
Ashley Graham?
Yeah.
She's very beautiful.
I'll go Margot Robbie and Chris Hemsworth as well. Hemsworth.
You like blondes?
Remember when Margot Robbie
yeah, you do,
apparently went out in Infernos in Clapham? We
She
were all
always-
like...
Yeah, she lives in Clapham.
No, she always used to, she not just once, she was a regular to Infernos in Clapham because she had a flat on Clapham Common with two people she met on Spare Room.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Infernos is like a
Terrible night.
early noughties club, so
But I
sticky
don't
floors.
think she frequents there quite as much now she lives in LA. But anyway, let's do the last
Who's
one
your female? Oh, Selma Hayek, right. Sorry.
Last one, Dan Ashcroft. If you could do any other job rather than Football Daily, what would it be and what would you be good at?
Filmmaking.
You would be a film director, would you?
The thing about film is you have to kind of work your way up, and if you're impatient like I am, doesn't bode well. You have to. I must have sent when I finished film school 30, 40 letters off to production companies and just got no response from any of them. Found it quite insular. I think your experience might have been different. I don't know. You might have told me that before, but
it's not very well funded. Is it?
Yeah, the British film industry in particular as well. But I feel like people are underrepresented and it's not quite as interesting as it is in America. But yeah, making films essentially in some capacity.
Yeah,
can be a good editor.
Yeah, so. I think that's the same thing. Like, when I was a kid, I always wanted to write and direct films, and like, I mean, if you write, there are so many different angles into it. You know, you can work your way up through the technical side. You can just write something, and if people want it enough, you can occasionally get a deal to direct it. But I don't know, writing in some capacity. I always wanted to write screenplays, really, and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll find out one day.
Joseph?
Go on.
Don't know. I don't really have an answer to it. I suppose maybe the military.
Really?
Maybe the military.
Family history.
All of my family are military or civil servants. Maybe the military, I guess.
I had no idea.
For me.
Can't imagine
Discipline.
in the military. You're
Following
a bit,
orders.
Bit spermy, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know how well I'd work in there, to be honest. I probably would have tried it and probably
Got
would have
thrown
fucked
out.
it. Yeah. But I don't know. I literally have no answer to that. Just bumbling along, probably doing something else that's stupid.
I think after working on Football Daily, one of the reasons that no one's left yet is because you don't actually. Yeah, Viner. You don't actually. It doesn't lend well to getting a job elsewhere, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Your skill set becomes very
so unique,
refined to Football
It makes
Daily,
you miserable,
so.
but takes away your ability to leave.
He's joking. He loves it. We're all
That's his
extremely
own
grateful.
gem.
We get to sit in the pub, talk about football.
I'd
Top
love it.
banana.
You know what? It'd be great to be a trophy husband. I'd be amazing
So
at
Van
that.
Straten.
I'd be
what?
amazing at that.
A stay-at-home husband.
Just marry someone really
He can
rich.
just Instagram
about,
like his cat all
you know,
day, like
just
like he does at current.
Just go and get your nails did. Just
Get your
nails did.
Just look lovely. all
Imagine
the
Van
time.
Straten, you know, with his feet in one of those fish bowls.
You don't need to
with those
imagine.
little
I'll show you
fish
pictures.
in a row.
going away at his
Nah,
calluses.
those fish are no way. Those fish are tapped. I'm not
I
having
mean,
it.
that's probably the end of personal questions. We'll leave it on the high note of Patrick getting his fucking feet nibbled by a fish.
Yeah, don't think about that. I've got great feet though, very clean.
So that's the end of Sunday Vibes this week. If you want to be involved next week, send your questions to us on Twitter. The handles are on screen right now. Lads, what else is coming up on the Football Daily Network?
Loads of stuff, mate. Stat Wars the Champions did not go out this week. It was a normal Stat Wars because we couldn't get hold of Don Straps. So that's me and Pat, bit of an OG edition. You've got Kieran's comments show that goes live on Eurofootball Daily on Saturday. Moved over from 90+1, of course. So that was the best signing of the season. And we've got loads of World Cup 10s, which you guys appear to be a little bit bored of. So maybe just, still watch them anyway.
Put them on in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Anyway, hopefully England are into a World Cup semi-final when you're watching this.
Oh, look.
Oh, we are doing a watch along as well. Watch along.
It would have already gone out,
Saturday.
bro.
But we will have
Go back and watch
semi-final and final, hopefully, watch-alongs
Yeah.
coming up.
Of England winning the World Cup.
Go on then, predictions against Sweden, just to end on.
Right, so we can look like absolute
Yeah,
Okay.
always. Well, that was a good little
3-0 England.
3-0, did you
He's gone
say?
balls deep.
end to this.
Balls as well, everything in there.
2-1 England.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
This is a tight game. This will be a tight game.
1-0 England.
And you know who's going to score that one?
Jay Lings.
Bye.
Bye.